And good morning. Let's do a quick audio check. Okay. I think we are live. Good afternoon, evening, Mo. Hello. Thank you for joining. It has been an absolutely crazy week. Uh, yeah, let's see if I can get through this. Um, Coffee in hand is a Salvadoran Bourbon. Very fancy stuff, fancier than I'm used to, shall we say. So, good morning. It is Friday, May 31st. This is episode 122, which is pretty crazy. Um, Ask some questions, send a note. Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. YouTube definitely works. I've seen one comment over the last few streams from Twitter and one from Twitch, but ask a question. What are you interested in? I'm kind of curious. Like, what are you working on? What do you want to know about? Yeah, just don't make it too difficult because um, I am at mental capacity. I think right now. I'm juggling. This week was pretty crazy. I don't know why. It just seemed super busy and felt like I didn't get anything done. So yes, my brain has too many tabs open. And what is I had a hard time coming up with this because I was doing so many small things. It didn't seem like any coherent project. But to follow up on a project that I mentioned previously, this week we had a meeting, internal meeting, to continue our work on what I'll call PTE housekeeping. So the idea is you have customers as a partner, or maybe an ISV. As a partner, you have several Business Central customers who have asked for PTEs, and you've got 10, 20, 30, 40 of those, however many you have. And you start to have a management problem where if the files are not organized in certain places, different people, the team have a hard time figuring out what's going on. So we are at that point and we are trying to clean up our act. And so just to move forward, I don't know what the real phrase is, but it's something like perfection. I'll say perfection is the enemy of getting anything done whatsoever. So I just said, we don't need to solve this problem 100%. Let's just pick a path, give it a try. And if we need to, we can pivot. It's kind of the agile methodology of just internal organization. So we settled on SharePoint, somewhat arbitrary, but just because that's where the consulting team is living most these days. Great. Let's try SharePoint, right? No worse than any other alternative. So for the time being, Alyssa set up a separate SharePoint site for the PTEs. So we're not having a fight with our project, whatever, records in the main SharePoint site. And so we have a SharePoint site for the PTE documents by customer, things are organized. Then just to keep things simple to start, we're creating a single folder in that site called PTE, or one space PTE. So it's sorted at the top. And the idea is we're going to try to drop artifacts in there. It's going to be one big pile. We're not going to go crazy with organization. And we'll come up with a file naming convention that allows for clear and easy sorting, searching, whatever for our PTE artifacts, which are just the app files. So we have a destination now, at least us on the dev side. And so now my developer and I need to figure out, okay, we have a pipeline run, results in a new artifact. Is that, a dev branch? Is that a main branch? Is that a feature branch? And I'm guessing just for main branch builds, we need to figure out how do we grab that artifact and drop it in the SharePoint site. And one would think that is not an insurmountable task. However, based on a very brief search, it is not the easiest task in the world. So we'll figure it out. Probably need a PowerShell script or something, but all sorts of kind of challenges. It's like DevOps, just never really considered this possibility that, oh, well, your artifacts are in the artifact bucket. Go find it. So we need to somehow dig that out, identify the artifact, figure out how to push it to SharePoint or some other file repository that we can then move over to SharePoint folder. So that's our journey. It's more of an experiment. It is not the real deal. But once we understand that process, we should be able to iterate and refine this and make it better and, have a little more capability. But even if we just got all the statement of work and requirements and design and user guide documents in SharePoint in one place, and then our PTEs just dumped into one folder, that's just light years ahead of where we're at now, where we each have folders with everything distributed. So that's what we're working on, step by step. And my ID10T error of the week. And if you're not familiar with what an ID10T error is, I'll let you figure it out. So I have had this issue. This issue came up months ago. I think it was like late last year. I know I was dealing with it in, say, November, December, January. It came up when we were doing full business process workflow testing for a customer. And one of the steps in that very long process was using the warehouse shipment feature in Business Central. And I found that when I'm in my generic ancient Cronus sandbox environment, demo environment, I would create a warehouse shipment, very basic. I would pull lines from sales orders, and I would go to post-shipment preview posting. Or maybe I tried to post the shipment, but either way, preview posting in this case, and I would get an error. Shipping number series must have a value in warehouse shipment header number, shipment 10,009. It cannot be 0 or empty. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? This, like, I never used warehouse shipments before, so I got on the phone with my partner, Tanya, and she's like, oh, you need to set up a number series. I'm like, okay, where do I even begin to look? And so she showed me like where this particular one was. I believe it's under warehouse setup. And then I didn't have a default number series in this particular Cronus company, which is, I'm learning more about this environment that may be causing me issues. So I set up a number series for shipping number series, and we kind of speculated it's the posted shipment number series is what it's called under warehouse setup. Set up the number series, assigned it in warehouse setup, tried to post again or preview posting, exact same error. We thought, well, okay, well, maybe it's not able to grab that number series because I just set it up. Delete the warehouse shipment, recreate it, same problem. So I kind of gave up in this environment. I'm like, okay, it's just not working. We spent too much time trying to figure it out. We couldn't figure out what the problem was. So this haunts me again because I was researching something else like, oh, I want to see the journal lines, the distributions, the debits and credits, and what geo accounts are being used for this type of transaction. So I went in this process again and I'm like, oh, this problem again, like 6 months later. So I posted this on Twitter and I got the same replies that I've been researching for months. And fundamentally, this appears to be the issue. When the warehouse shipment is created, this shipping number series field is blank. Like it's not pulling like the number series, not just a number, like the entire number series that should be used during posting. Like, what is going on? And people on Twitter said, well, have you set up the number series? Yes, I set up the number series. Got it. Are you assigned a warehouse worker? Yes, I saw that one blog post that mentioned this. I set up myself as a warehouse worker. Was not the solution. Well, thankfully, thank you, Phil. Phil apparently was very bored at work one day when he saw my tweet, had absolutely nothing better to do, clearly, because he actually read what I was experiencing, and he's like, huh, that's strange. And he actually read my replies and said, yes, I've done all of these things, all these obvious things that are the obvious answers, right? Sensible, but obvious. I've done all of those. And he went to the effort somehow to reproduce the issue I was having. What is the setup on your number series for posted warehouse shipment? I replicated what you had this morning by not having default numbers set to true. And I read this like, okay, you replicated, awesome. Default number series not set to, like, what? What are you talking about? Sure enough, one checkbox right there. That was the problem. And so Phil and I discussed this. If you do this on a number series that's on a field of, say, a document, so a new warehouse shipment, a new sales order, new sales invoice, whatever, you will get an error that, okay, like something like, cannot issue an automatic number, you need to check your setup, or you need to assign it manually, or you need to pick a number series, whatever. But if that number series is invoked or utilized behind the scenes as part of a posting process, it doesn't give you that obvious error like, hey, dummy, I have no number series to use. It gives you that obscure error that I encountered here. Shipping number series must have a value. It cannot be blank or empty. It's not really telling you the mechanics of what preceded this problem. This error is getting triggered at the preview posting level. And at that point, the field's been blank. It's like, I don't know what to do. I don't have a number series to work with. The problem actually occurred as soon as I created the warehouse shipment, which is interesting because I don't know how else you can post a warehouse shipment unless this shipping number series is populated. So anyway, Phil, the most patient person on the planet apparently, figured this out. And sure enough, I set up this number series. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't pay attention to the check mark. As far as I could tell, it is unchecked by default, which is also interesting. This is like one of those obscure landmines that you do something, you don't realize you made this very small mistake, and it is just stuff doesn't work. And you're running around for, in my case, months, just not knowing what's causing this problem. So I was like, oh my gosh, just yeah, so that's a sign of how my week went. Realizing this, I was like, okay. But this was a just supremely valuable lesson for me. It's like, whoa, one checkbox clobbered me for months. It stumped Tanya. It stumped the folks on Twitter. Like, there's like, well, duh, you need to set up a number series. I'm like, I agree, but it's not working. It's because I set it up wrong. And Phil, thank you. And for his valiant efforts, Phil is receiving a shipment of Good Beans specialty coffee direct from El Salvador. So the coffee has been shipped. It is en route to the United Kingdom as we speak, and hopefully it clears customs, et cetera, et cetera. But Phil, I hope you and your coworkers enjoy some really, really good premium coffee. I hope you like it. I like it. So thank you very much, Phil. You just, helped help my mental wellness for the month. So moving on, Monday. Monday was Memorial Day in the United States, so took it easy. I was very grateful to have it. We relaxed, and this is a photo of Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. And if you have not been there, I was fortunate enough to go there when I was in high school with an East Coast trip that we did. It is mind-blowing. It is stunning. It is visually like just incomprehensible to see all of these headstones lined up in this pattern. It looks like it goes on forever. Very humbling experience and just solemn, like really, really amazing experience. So if you have an opportunity to visit Arlington, visit DC, I highly recommend it. It is really an interesting experience, shall we say. So that was Monday in the United States. And this was interesting. On Tuesday, we're working with a customer who has a third-party consultant who works like really, really integral part of their IT team. He's worked with them for years. Very well, very smart guy, very capable guy. Trusted him and his team, and he is doing some testing. He's doing some really tight integrations with Business Central between the industry specific solution that he's providing to the customer. And he requested access to BC Admin Center. And it's probably like not a common thing, but in this case, legitimate need. It just helps him, saves time, so he's not having to come to us to get questions answered. So he says, hey, can I get access to BC Admin Center? And we had just never done this before for a kind of third party person. And I think we realized we hadn't done this before for just your typical BC user account. So he had a BC license, but it was just a standard user with limited access. So the question was, what permissions are required to give a typical BC user access to Admin Center? And I'd never done it before, so it was an educational journey. Some research and testing is still required. We got it to work. I speculate there's a more streamlined way, and maybe there's a little more limited set of permissions potentially, but it looks like you got to pretty much go full admin as far as we could tell. So this is just an example of my account on a demo environment that I have. So this is my whatever they call it, the Microsoft 365 admin page, not BC admin page, but the Microsoft 365 admin page. My account, I'm the tenant administrator as well. It says global admin. Okay, so I can access BC Admin Center with global admin, and the documentation basically said, you need to be a administrator. I forget the term that's used in the documentation. So as far as we knew, we had to make him a global admin in their M365. Kind of surprising. Maybe if anyone knows of a lesser role that can give someone access to Admin Center, seems kind of excessive to give someone global admin to your tenant or at least your whole Microsoft 365 environment just to give them BC admin rights. But I don't know, maybe they haven't made it more granular yet. And then we had to navigate the BC side. Even after he had global admin in the M365 side, still couldn't access Admin Center. So Alyssa, she's like, this feels like a BC permission issue. So she dug into there and she assigned, I think she assigned security first, and that didn't work. Then she tried super, still didn't work. Well, turns out that I don't know if she was just doing it out of habit or if it's defaulting that way. If you notice in the company column here, it was defaulting the company that the test environment and test company that he was assigned to as a BC user. And when that company is present, he couldn't access BC Admin Center. As soon as she removed the company next to super, and I think she just removed it from all of them just to try to figure out what was going on, he suddenly had access. So that was like, okay, another one of those things. One little check mark can just send you spiraling for hours trying to figure this out. So we figured that out. And then there was also, we believe, a weird timing issue. So for instance, after he had global admin access, he still got the same error. And so it's like, what happened? But then the next morning he logged in during our call. He's like, wait, I suddenly have access. What's going on? So we don't know if there's a log out, log in. We don't know if it's a sync issue between M365 and BC Admin Center or BC. Not sure yet. And then we didn't get a chance to try it, but I'm speculating that this might have played a role. I don't know. This update users from M365. So anyway, long story short, I'd love to kind of just understand the exact proper best practices, recommended steps, permissions, whatever. If anyone has an article to this on how to do this properly, cleanly, with as minimal permissions as possible, let me know. Eric is saying this is kind of a known issue and that always run update from Microsoft 365. That was my impression. And so that may have contributed to the delay between him getting global admin and getting access. But there were a couple things going on, and we changed variables. So, yeah, not pretty. Anything related to Microsoft accounts, Microsoft logins, Microsoft security, it is the most painful part of dealing with the Microsoft software, unfortunately. Brian Connell says he's had several issues with similar problems in security. And thank you, Brian, if you have details. Like, I'd like to just refine this to say, hey, this person just needs access to BC Admin Center. They don't need to be the global admin, the Azure tenant admin. They don't even need to be the global M365 admin if possible. Like, especially larger organizations, you don't want 10 people as your global admin. Anyway, so that was interesting learning experience, frustrating. So Wednesday, among other things, Alyssa, I'm on a call with Alyssa, and I'm using the user permissions. I'm looking at a user in BC, looking at the permissions and roles, and she's like, Steve, what are you doing? You don't have the new view turned on. I'm like, what are you talking about, new view? Like, I literally don't even know what you're talking about. She goes, go into feature management and enable this thing. I'm like, oh God, you're kidding me. And so I realized I haven't looked at the feature management list in months. Like, I've got enough to do. Seriously, raise your hand if you regularly go into feature management, which is really need to be every month or two, to figure out what's new, what's rolling into mandatory, what's rolling into optional, whatever, what's been added to the list. And I was like, oh my gosh. I instantly knew as soon as she saw it, said it, I was like, oh, yep. I have no idea what's in the feature management list right now. And I just can't keep up, folks. And then, so she told me about, I don't know if you can see my mouse. Yeah, I think you can. Apparently it's convert user group permissions. I have no idea what this is. I need to go read it, need to click on the learn more, but she says just do it. And she says it gives you a better view. And I did it, but I still don't know what the difference is. So I need to look at the old, look at the new, see what it's doing. It did some conversion thing. And I'm sure this is obvious to some of you, but I'm like, what? Never heard of it. 2024 Wave 2, automatically enabled version 25. So, folks, this is yet another thing to add to your list. And I empathize if you're just like, Steve, I don't have time for this. I empathize, but like, look at this. I'll avoid the EU. Extensible exchange rate adjustments, extensible invoice posting engine, GL currency revaluation, user group permissions, 1099 forms, package tracking. I mean, that's fascinating. Communication text for reminder terms. And I mean, new sales price experience. That's the one I actually do know. Autosave with every field change. Didn't we have that already? So this must be, I don't know what it is. So anyway, you get my point. It is a lot going on. So Eric, on the permission side, Eric says that the permissions is replacing BC user groups with groups from Microsoft Entra. Yes, there was a presentation at DynamicsCon Live about the tier of permissions or roles in the Entra side of things. And my recollection or my impression from that discussion was that it's kind of a supplementary or additional set of roles. I didn't get the impression that it replaced the BC permissions, but Eric is saying you can add permissions via M365 setup instead of keeping double groups in BC alone. So anyway, yeah, if you want a career in Business Central, I think you could just focus on security and permissions, and you might just be set for the next decade. I don't know. So anyway, yep. So take a look at feature management. I don't know how I'm going to keep up with it. Maybe like I need a monthly reminder. Maybe I'll make it part of this where I just look at this and see what's new and actually read these things. I'm sure these are probably mentioned as part of the wave releases and monthly releases, like the what's new notes and all that. But I Yeah, I just can't keep track. So, um, so Eric is saying whomever said that at DynamicsCon was wrong. So, yeah, and again, I was just in the room like trying to understand what's going on, but my impression was that D365 permission or M365 permissions were not replacing BC permissions. They were kind of supplemental. If I recall correctly, the scenario was, hey, what if you want an IT admin to manage your Entra and M365 users, but you don't want them in BC? You could set things up at the M365 and they'll kind of roll in. But again, I was just like a clueless spectator in the room, just trying to pick up some words that I could, talk about later. So entire domain I need to learn about. Educational opportunities. I didn't list anything specific. Last week I mentioned Jeremy Visca's workshop through Spare Brained. And so check those out. But this week I am, oh, okay, good clarification from Eric. User groups in BC are obsolete. Yes. And so that was clearly stated. The presenter did state that. I'm talking about like permissions and roles, whatever it's called in BC these days. So, user group permissions. Got it. It's starting to click. Sorry, it's Friday. I'm shot. User group permissions. Now this is making more sense. This is okay. Got it. Thank you. User groups in BC are obsolete. If you want group permissions, Entra groups is the only way going forward. Got it. And I'm thinking I'm just more thinking of, I think they're called permission sets in BC. And so those are kind of two different things. So yes, thank you for the clarification, Eric. It is very confusing. Okay, moving on. Educational opportunities. I am working with a couple of TechFluent graduates, as I mentioned previously. And if you are looking for someone who is knowledgeable or trained, taken training and certification in Microsoft CRM, CE, Power Platform, Power BI, Business Central, if you're looking for an intern, if you're looking for a junior consultant, if you're looking for a junior dev or analyst or whatever it might be called, or if you're a BC end user, hey, contact me, contact TechFluent, contact Liz. There are candidates that have graduated that are looking for opportunities, internships, roles, jobs, you name it. And honestly, they're great candidates. So I'm working with several of them to work on the BC side of things. So they're aware of BC. They've had some exposure to BC, but most of them are more interested in CRM, Power Platform, Power BI. But because these products interact, I'm going to just show them cursory Business Central, kind of intro to Business Central, do some integrations, get them familiar with all the mechanics and plumbing of Business Central so that they can talk to that, be skilled in that. And what I'm going to be doing is, I'll see if this works, give them a topic to study, give them some resources to learn, give them access to a Business Central tenant. They're going to learn that topic, and then they are going to create a presentation on that topic, a conference grade presentation, and then they are going to present that and train others on that topic. So they're going to learn, they're going to present, they're going to train, and that's what I'm thinking. Is I don't have the capacity to just teach. So welcome to the world of consulting, right? You got to learn on your feet. If you know what you're going after, you'll learn it, you figure it out, you document it to better understand it, and then you know it well enough to teach it. And if you do that over and over and over, pretty soon you got 10 topics in your back pocket and you're much more comfortable with the product, how it works, and you can talk about these things. So that's the goal. And so again, if you're looking for Microsoft Dynamics Power Platform talent, hit me up. Happy to refer them to you. Upcoming event, Proximo Evento. Once again, reiterating that the call for speakers is open for Directions EMEA 2024. That is in November in Vienna, Austria. So if you're interested, submit a session on Sessionize and make it good. Okay. Another Proximo Evento, Days of Knowledge America in Atlanta, Georgia. And I believe this is the first year it is being organized by the Directions for Partners, same people who put on Directions EMEA. And on September 12th, there will be a day of pre-conference training. I don't know if there's an additional fee for that or not. I couldn't tell. So look into that if you're interested. And then on 13 and 14, there are the presentations and educational sessions. And one of the coolest things about this event is the $4.99 early bird registration. The price is very appealing, phenomenal. Like I am very confident that if I attend and pay $500, I will more than get my money's worth from a 2-day event. That's really a bargain price for a US conference. Like it's unbeatable. I honestly don't know how they're breaking even on that, because just a conference venue is extraordinarily expensive. So yeah, $4.99, go register early bird, head on down to Atlanta. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going yet. Yeah, got a lot on my calendar. So other upcoming events, BC Tech Days is just around the corner, June 13th, 14th in Antwerp, Belgium. It's kind of expensive for us from the US, but if you're in Europe, it should be a no-brainer if you're on the technical dev side. Tech Bayanihan, August 2nd, 3rd in Manila, Philippines, the first, I think it's a Dynamics Power Platform conference in Philippines for the Philippine Asian regional market. Yeah, go head on over there. There are some super celebrity people organizing that. We have Summit North America, October 13th through 17th in San Antonio, Texas. I was very fortunate to be accepted as a co-presenter with Silview. And so, yes, Christopher is one of the organizers of Tech Bayanihan. Hope I'm saying that right, in the Philippines. And I know Cecile. So she's like, Steve, you have to share this conference. I was like, yes, Cecile, as you wish. So, yes, go check it out. And I've never been to the Philippines, it's kind of a long flight for me, but head on over there. I heard it's cool. Anyway, Summit North America in San Antonio. I am a co-presenter with Silview, and I booked my hotel last night, booked my flight last night, finished at 10 p.m., getting registered and done with all that. So I am committed, planning on attending Summit North America. Yeah, so if you're there, I will see you in Texas. And mentioned the call for proposals for Directions EMEA. That is November 6th through 8th in Vienna, Austria. I don't think I'll be able to make it, but sounds fun. Great event, big event. Wish I could be there, but have a good time and go register. And the tool of the week, brief coffee break, is Restream. Now, I am streaming this via the Restream service. And if you've used OBS or done a stream or whatever, you'd be like, Steve, why would I bother with this service? Like, I'm just going to stream directly. Well, here, I'll give you a couple reasons. One, I can have my destination connections predefined. I can have all of the titles or, messages or whatever it's called as to what the broadcast is preloaded. Different titles for different platforms. So for instance, on Twitter, I reload a different title that gives a little more description than the tweet. So if I drag this over here, I can see that I put the full message in here: grind, brew, and enjoy your favorite coffee. Normally that would not, it's kind of a hassle to set that up separately. So Restream makes it easy to do that. And I can have different channels that are disabled. So I have my ERP Center of Excellence channel up at the top that's turned off. I have my personal channel turned off. So you can have multiple channels, and you have one RTMP streaming URL that you configure in your streaming software. I'm using vMix, so I tell vMix, you stream to Restream, and Restream rebroadcasts it. I've separately seen what it takes to do a direct YouTube stream via OBS. It is super slow. It was so unresponsive. It was just really strange. So maybe there's something I'm missing, but like Restream is really snappy, super responsive. I see the status right away. It's just a great tool to manage your streams. So I highly recommend it just for the sanity and logistics. And if you've ever done a stream, you know you're managing 12 things at once. This just makes life a lot easier. And you're like, I only stream to one place. Well, here is one specific reason why I'd recommend doing it, especially if you were on Twitter. So if you attempt to stream and you post that stream link to Twitter and you're streaming on YouTube, this is what your tweet will often look like. So Stefan did a live stream of BC coding. I was like, oh, cool, but look at what this looks like. And this is very intentional by Twitter. Now, you could complain all you want, but whatever, like they have a use case and a revenue model around this. So this tweet is being deboosted. It is not showing the thumbnail. And the reason is Twitter does not want to redirect you to external resources. They don't want to send you over to YouTube. They want to keep their audience captive for their advertisers, their revenue model, and that's fine. Every single platform does this, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, heaven's sake. So it's fine. I have no problem with that. And the best case scenario is, I don't know why it's varying, but sometimes his YouTube stream, Stefan's YouTube stream, shows up like this. This is better, but it's still kind of restricted. And then this was Brad. So Brad, I think this is a published recording, I'm not sure, but similar thing. It just shows this truncated YouTube link. It doesn't do a preview. It doesn't do the kind of a nice hyperlink or anything. So this is very intentional, and this was publicized. It's not a secret. Now compare that to what my stream looks like when I use Restream to simultaneously stream to YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. This is what my followers on Twitter see, right? So it is an engagement game, and I'm fine playing with it, playing the game, and I use Restream to make it work. So here I see a big, it's not even a thumbnail, it's a giant preview, and it's automatically plays the video. So if someone sees this in their Twitter timeline, like, oh, there's that clown again, I'm going to hit play and watch his antics. And so, it's a very different experience for your Twitter users. So if you're streaming to YouTube, but using Twitter to try to promote your stream, I highly recommend Restream. Like, it's just a no-brainer. Now you say, well, I don't want to pay for another service. Okay. So they do have a free plan. Now, shrinkflation is hitting everyone, and it has definitely hit Restream as well. The free plan used to have a lot more features. I checked it last night, and I see it's down to just 2 channels, and it sounds like it has a watermark now and probably other limitations. So, unfortunately, that's just, they got to make money. So then they have the standard plan, which again used to be much more capable. This has 3 channels and watermark removed, but for me, 3 channels is all I use. Like when I signed up, I think it was like 8 channels or something crazy like that. It's like I couldn't even find 4 channels if I wanted to. And then the professional plan at $39 a month, not trivial, but for me, given my investment in this, it's worthwhile. Currently, it's 5 channels, full HD, 10-hour recordings. And it depends on whether you're streaming through their browser-based studio or whether you're streaming through something like OBS or vMix and using their RTMP link. So you'd have to check the details. But for reference, this is the plan that I'm currently grandfathered into, which I didn't even realize I was paying for. I bought the professional, which at the time was $490 per year, and 8 channels, store 10 files, 10 hours of recording full 1080p in studio, which is their browser-based streaming. And I purchased this because I'm live streaming from El Salvador. And if I have a low-end laptop with me, browser-based streaming is the only option. And I did it at the DynamicsCon Live conference as well. So I don't know if I'll stick with this or downgrade to the $39 a month. I think I'll just stick with this and just deal with it. But yeah, that's why I'd recommend Restream and why it is the tool of the week. So Thursday. Wow, I think we're up to, if this is right, 50 people. Wow, you're making me nervous here. Greetings to all 50 people. Happy Friday. Cheers. So Thursday for my kids was the last day of school. It was a crazy week. They had finals, short days, so I'm just Ubering back and forth, taking them to after school, social activities and parties and the beach and stuff like that. So I was the Uber dad since I apparently don't work for a living. And they were happy because it's the last day of school. I was happy because last night was my last day of being on call for jury duty, and I did not have to go in. So I was on call every week. Monday was a holiday, so I got out of that, and then I didn't have to go in Tuesday through Friday. So I was relieved because I fly out on Monday morning to El Salvador. So that would have been painful if I would have been called in on Friday and had to do jury duty. So Thursday was a day of celebration and exhaustion. And side note, new feature apparently that I forgot about, Thursday's challenge. Here's a question to you, all of you who may be watching now or in the future. Sales invoice import challenge. This is a Business Central challenge. How would you do this? Customer comes to you and says, we have a sales invoice import. And I think it's every day. Every day we want to import our sales invoices from our other system. And we're currently doing this with our old system. We're migrating to Business Central. And how do you recommend we do this integration? Da-da-da-da. And the challenge is, the reason this is a challenge is they currently have a single file for their data source. This is a single CSV file, a true flat file, and it is a combined header and line file. So you see the colors are the header records or header fields. They are repeated for each line. So what we would typically do is we would have a tool that uses this same file for two data sources. One will be the header, one will be the rows. The header will simply take the header data source, will take the header fields, it will group those rows so we get one row with Acme Tools, invoice 12408, May 18th, right? So that's one row. You will then join it to the line data source, which is all of this data. You'll join it based off, say, customer and invoice number, and you will read the lines that have item, quantity, and unit price. And you have those two data sources feeding in your integration tool. Well, looked into configuration packages, and like we're hoping maybe this is kind of an easy way to get them started. It appears this is not an option for config packages. First of all, it's a CSV file. And as far as I can tell, configuration packages, you got to use that Excel template. And they're like, well, maybe we can convert our file to generate the Excel files. I'm going to guess that's a bad idea because I just don't know what metadata and other shenanigans are going on behind the scenes in a configuration file. So, yeah. So I don't see a way to do this using configuration packages for various reasons. And I got feedback on Twitter like, it's just a bad idea. Don't do an ongoing integration with configuration packages. And I don't disagree. So the customer is just looking for an initial, easy, go live solution, and then they will backfill in a stage 2 with a different design because they're saying, well, should we just automate this whole thing and have their source system make API calls to Business Central? But that takes time, design, development costs, and they are asking for a way to have an integration option, low cost, simple, easy, upfront for go live. And so we're looking at that. Yeah, and so Eric is saying that like there are tools to do this. There are integration tools. Eric mentions his toolbox, but you start to get in a realm where it opens up the conversation of you got to do stuff and it gets a little complex. You need some technical knowledge and you have a lot of options at that point, right? And a Power Automate person would say, Power Automate's the way to go. Obvious choice, right? A person who uses a third-party ISV integration solution, well, you need to use this tool, right? So it gets to the point where you start to choose a path, and that takes you in a direction, and you got to invest in that direction. So anyway, we're looking for a simple, low-cost, rapid, low-knowledge, low-effort solution. I don't know that there is one, but that was Thursday's challenge. And if you think of anything, post a comment, hit me up on Twitter. I'm curious to know if there's something I'm missing. I know how to do it with an integration tool, but that's $6,000 a year or more. I know that code is an option, but what if they have 2, 3, 4 options? Like then we've invested in this one integration and they could have bought a tool. You get the point. Okay. Friday, today, 10 o'clock, coming up on 10 o'clock. I have a product demo from another ISV solution that I sell. We have an implementation project weekly call with our customer every Friday morning. And then I have a Business Central training call with a TechFluent graduate who has started with a BC login and is learning BC navigation and UI. So we're going to start there. And she is going to learn navigation, create the presentation, and then teach others. So we'll see if that model works. But anyway, that is Friday. And wow, this just keeps going. The excellence update. I head to El Salvador on Monday. I'll hopefully make it to Berlin by Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, I think. I just have a stop on my way. And I will be training 2 candidates who have been accepted into the ERP Center of Excellence training program. And we're going to be doing all sorts of stuff here. Starting with, you got to type 60 words a minute, period. Touch type, need to be proficient with typing. That's just a base skill. We're going to do American English, business and consulting terminology, business process and accounting workflows, financial accounting concepts, processes, reporting, Business Central, ERP training, tenant administration, and all of this, just like the TechFluent work I'm doing, public speaking and presentations to get them comfortable with training, interviews, the whole bit. Business Central application and practicum projects. So, hey, here's an implementation task, theoretical, right? Here's your files, load them up, get the system configured, set up your number series with the correct check mark this time, things like that. And so we're going to do in-person training from June 5th through June 26th. So I will be in the I'd say it's a jungle, in the jungle on the side of a volcano in the middle of El Salvador for solid 3 weeks. And we'll be at the Berlin Community Center where we have what we're now calling the Career Center, the ERP Center of Excellence Career Center. And so, that's what's going on there. And we have commissioned some artwork because the Career Center is a stone-walled and tiled floor room, and the reverb is brutal. So one of the team in Berlin figured out how to make some really good homemade acoustic sound panels. And so they have used that in their podcast studio. They seem to work very well. So my thought is, rather than just have plain acoustic panels, we will hire a local artist to create a large painting that will be the canvas, and we'll put the acoustic foam behind there and frame it And so it's going to be a big, thick frame. And we will have kind of incognito acoustic sound panels that use local artists, art from local artists. So I commissioned this, and this is the first painting called El Mundo. And the theme is connecting these students in El Salvador with the world through education. So I thought it was a really neat theme. So she painted this. And so this is our first artwork that we commissioned. It's going to go on the wall of the newly decorated Career Center. And I have a couple more in mind. So we're going to have these giant, 3 foot by 4 foot or A1 or whatever these non-banana US sizes are. And that will be our acoustic sound panel. So 2 birds, 1 stone. It's looking pretty good. So yesterday, we received our custom handmade tables from, I need to find out where these are being made, but they have a source who hand makes any custom furniture you want. So I just purchased those yesterday. They were delivered yesterday. I sent the funds over. And these are our tables or desks, and this will hold up to 6 students in the training center or the career center. So that's what it looks like. It's kind of bare right now because everything's getting moved out. And Nikki, who is awesome, is helping me with all of this stuff. So we're going to get at least 6 chairs. We have the TV mounted on the wall. So it's shaping up. It's going to look pretty flash, as the New Zealanders say in Berlin. So yeah, we are making progress. It is looking good. And the weekend, el fin de semana. And I think I forgot to put anything here. I think I'm going to collapse. I owe Tanya some work, a statement of work and an estimate, and probably some other things I'm forgetting. So I'm behind on some tasks, and I am exhausted. Super crazy busy week. But yeah, as they say in El Salvador, paso a paso, step by step, little by little. So what is your Q&A? Hit me up with some Q&A. And how would you creatively solve Thursday's sales invoice import challenge for a customer who wants an initial, simple, low-cost solution that's not going to be too crazy? And the idea was if we could find a way to get that existing file into BC and continue their import, that would make their implementation smoother. And then they can follow up and figure out what they want to do long term. Is it changing the file format with a different import solution? Is it modifying their source system to push it directly to BC? I kind of think that might be the cleaner way to go if they're willing to invest. So anyway, yes. Okay. So with that, thank you for joining. Honestly, if this number is anyway accurate, this says 58. I don't know if you all are just seriously bored, but thank you. Let's have some fun, and cheers. Thanks for joining episode 122 of this circus, and go have some coffee and enjoy your weekend. Adios.